Dear fellow coders, welcome to One Little Coder. This is day 2 of 30 days of ML by Kaggle. So today we have got an assignment that is going to start us with Python. So if you're completely new to Python, you might want to skip this and then do something else. That's up to you. But I'm going to just do the tutorial. So let's click this. Which again, if you have not signed up for this challenge, I'll link all these links in the YouTube description so you can check it out there. So this is going to take us to the Kaggle course. And again, this is going to be notebook, so we are going to learn what is in it, and then we are going to do the exercise. So the first we are going to do the tutorial, then we are going to complete the exercise. I'll link both these links in the YouTube description. So let's start with the Python basics. So first of all, before even we get into it, I'll give you a very quick introduction about why do you need Python. So Python is being used for a lot of different purposes. In the past, you would have seen Python being web development language, Python being used in DevOps, Python being used for system administration, and shell scripting, a lot of different purpose. But here we are trying to learn Python specifically for data science, machine learning, whatever the buzzword that you would like to use. And the reason we want to use Python here is because the ecosystem of Python is really strong. That Python is being heavily used in a lot of different companies that actually develop solutions for machine learning. For example, if you take Google has open sourced a bunch of packages or frameworks that will help you make a better machine learning engineer using Python. And the same goes with Facebook, the same goes with a lot of different companies who contribute to the Python ecosystem. And there are a couple of libraries that you should definitely look into. Probably in this course or challenge, we might also do that. Mainly, NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn. So these are the and Matplotlib. So NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn, Matplotlib. See, these are some things that we will learn going forward. But now it's basics of Python. So first of all, some text that you want to read. So you can see this code and then you can understand what is happening here. So a couple of things that I would like to say, if you are a Python, like if you have never seen Python code, I assume that you might have some Python knowledge. I think that's the whole point of this. But if you do not have also, I'll just give you some details. But if you think this is irrelevant or boring, please feel free to skip the video and then let me know in the comments if you need anything else. So Python, you can just assume like this. You don't have to initialize any variable unlike a lot of other languages. So you just print it like this and you comment it like this with a hash sign. Then again, like I said, like you don't have to do any initialization. You can just normally do arithmetic operation like this. And if you are going to write an if statement or any other statement like this, which is a control statement, one thing that you might see is there is no parenthesis, which means like you just have to use indentation. So see this. So this starts here, but this starts here. So indentation is a way Python would know that the code belongs to a particular section, like particular control flow. And then you would see colon at this end, and also you wouldn't see any brackets here. So these are certain things for you to note. Ultimately, there are a lot of ways that you can show your output. But if you want to see, like, one of the good ways you can become a better programmer is reading the code and trying to guess what the machine would do. So that will give you some sense. So let's do the same exercise. So what are we going to do? So we are going to assign 0 to spam amount and then print spam amount. So which means we are going to print 0 here. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to add sum 0 with 4, and that is going to give us spam amount, which is 4. And now spam amount is 4. So now we are going to check whether spam amount 4 is greater than 0. Is it? Yes, of course it is. So when it is greater than 0, it's going to say, but I do not want any spam. So it's going to print, I don't want any spam. So at the end of this, it's going to print a Viking song, and that Viking song is nothing but spam into spam amount. And what is spam amount? Spam amount is 4. So it's going to print spam into 4 times, 4 number of times. So we're going to see print 1 spam amount, print here, and then print here. So let's see the output, and then you can see we have guessed it right. So 0, the first one, I don't want any spam, which is the if conditions, because the condition succeeded. the result of this is true, so it happened, it went inside. And then finally the Viking song, which is spam, 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 spam. So 4 times you have printed spam. Okay, so now let's slightly dive a little deep into what is this. Like I said, the first part is spam amount is equal to 0, where we have used equal sign. Again, if you are coming from a language like SQL or SAS, I think equal to sign means you are going to test equality, but in Python a single equal sign means you are going to assign something, and a double equal sign is for equality. So again, just something, and like I said, like they are giving you details about, you don't have to declare something, you can just dynamically start assigning, and when you print it, it's going to print. I added information. So if you are using a Jupyter notebook or like Kaggle notebook, when you even simply type spam underscore amount, it's going to print it because there is an implicit print. But if you're going to use any IDE like VS Code, PyCharm, Spider, you have to explicitly give a print. And you can also see the print has an open bracket and close bracket. So print off. So anytime you see open bracket and close bracket, that is a function call. So that's a function call. So print is an inbuilt system function in Python that takes the value of this and passes it to print, and then it returns something in exchange. So that's a print statement that you see. So again, you need to probably learn about functions as well, but now let's just focus on this. So next thing is, you have a comment. You can see a comment is defined with a hash, and then we are going to do an arithmetic operation, very simple arithmetic operation. And you can also see that we have not changed the variable name, the object name. So we have used the same object name here, and what is going to happen, 0 comes here first and then gets added, then gets assigned here. So that's how it works. And finally, we are getting to control statement, and control statement or conditionals, whatever you would like to call it. You have an if statement, and then if statement, this is the condition which will evaluate into a boolean, like either true or false. And you define like the colon, saying that anything after this colon, whenever it is intended, it is part of this statement, if statement, and anything that comes out of this indentation is going to be outside of this if statement. So that's the way Python knows, and that is the detail, like the code block that they have defined here. How does it happen? And also one more important thing is, how do we define a string? A string is defined with a single quote or double quote. There is no rule that you should use one of that, but if you want to use a double quote, use a double quote. If you want to use a single quote, you have to use a single quote on both the sides, either opening and closing side as well. And then finally we print, and when we use multiplication, asterisk, so you know this is a number, so of course you cannot multiply a number with a character, right? Like it's not possible. I can do 3 into 3, which evaluates to 9, but I cannot do, hey, 1 little coder into 3. It doesn't become 3 little coder. So what happens is, whenever you have a string and then you use multiplication and then you pass it on to print assumes that you have to print it x number of times, like n number of times, and that's where this thing happens. And then if you want to know more about it, this term is called operator overloading. So this is an operator here, the asterisk is an operator here. So how are you overloading the default definition of asterisk and then trying to make asterisk do something else for you? That's what operator overloading is all about. Read it. Not very important, but yeah, it's good to know. And you can also see when you use the function type, the function will return what type of data, what data type it contains. So to give you in short, a data type is the type of value that gets stored in a variable. So this is a variable or an object. The type of the object, like what kind of value that you put inside that object, defines the type of this object. Like I could actually put a character here, then this would become a string. I could put a number here, which is like a negative number, that becomes like an integer, and then I could put a decimal point, which is a floating point, that becomes a float. So that's what you would see. Type is a function, inbuilt function, that will help you identify the type of the variable or object. Integer, and type, this type is float, and then you can also see what kind of things that you can like the operators for you to do arithmetic operation, and then you can do the same thing. And when you deal with arithmetic operators, it's always good to know the precedence, order of precedence. I don't know which country you watch this video from, but in my country, like we used to have a very very naive way of memorizing it. It used to be called as BODMAS, BODMAS. So that's to say like bracket, order of, and then multiplication, like division, multiplication. I know it's a tricky way, it's a silly way I should say, but we used to memorize that. Oh, okay, they have something PEMDAS. Okay, so I think where I learned it used to be called as like that. So parenthesis, exponents, multiplication or division, and addition and subtraction. So that's a nice way to know order of precedence. It's quite important, especially if you are new to programming language. So then, yeah, the mnemonic that I am familiar with is BODMAS, but you are free to use anything. So that will take you to do arithmetic operations just like this. So now you know that the division is going to happen first, and then the addition is going to happen, and then you're going to see the result. So like I said, again, spend a little bit more time on this link, which I'll link in the YouTube description. Go through single line of code and try to understand what is happening in each line. And also you can do a compiler thing. Oh, I've got 29, 25, I've got 190. So I put 190 and divided by 100, which becomes like 1.9, and then I'm going to add it. So it becomes 25 plus 1.9, which is 26.9. So this is good for you to practice. I'm not going to get deep into order of precedence or order of operation, but it is really, really good for you to know. And the next thing is there are certain inbuilt functions, again, like we saw print, we saw type. So the same way there are other inbuilt functions that lets you do small mathematical operations, I would say, which is like, for example, if you have got 3 numbers, if you want to find minimum of it, you can do like this, and then you get the minimum of it. If you want to find 3 numbers and then you want to do max, you can do max. And again, because you are on Kaggle, I would like to again give you another important feature that Kaggle has got. If you click this function, the Kaggle would actually tell you where else this kind of value or this function has been used, like where else. So now this is a very good way for you to learn how people actually use it. It's like, you go to dictionary and then look for a word, and then dictionary would probably say this is used like this. So this way you can always learn how you can do something, and like how is it being used by somebody else. So that's a good way to see others code as well. So min, max, these are functions, and again ABS stands for not abs, absolute, which means like it's going to remove all the signs and then it's going to give you. So, and finally you just have a look at it. You have like a number, int, and for you to know when you say int of, it is also a way of typecasting. Probably that is not covered here, but in the future we might actually see. So typecasting is nothing but you take one type of an object and then convert it into another type. So 10 integer is being converted into float here, and 3.3, which is a floating point, because it has a decimal point, it's being converted into int. And again, yeah, you can see like you can do an arithmetic operation within the function itself, and then it gets evaluated like this. So this takes us to the end of the day 2 tutorial. I might ask you to do a couple of things. So when you are starting to program, it's always good to make a lot of mistakes. Mistakes make us better programmer, I would say. And also you should definitely try to see somebody else's code. So what is a mistake that I would want you to do? I would definitely want you to think, okay, I've got a number here and I'm converting into float. Obviously it will say 10.0, but what if I have a string here? What will happen? What if I have a string here and then I try to sum, whether there is an operator overloading that is going to happen. So these kind of mistakes, so I definitely want you to mess up with different object type and then try to see what is the output type. So you can use type of and then try. If you try that and if you find something interesting, please let me know in the comment section. So now we are at the end of the tutorial, which is lesson 1 of Python course. Now we have to complete the exercise. Let me even see if this exercise and this exercise are same. Let's open it. Both of them are actually taking me to the same place. Okay, yes, both of them took me to the same place. Yesterday when we did this thing, I think Kaggle notebook had a little bit of computation power issue. Let's try if that's been sorted out. Like I said, of course it's a Google company, right? Why would you have computational issue if you are Google? I mean, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, that powers a lot of things in the world. But you never know. Oh, we got it. So if you're not familiar with Kaggle notebook, I've got a separate video, I think, which I'll try to link. So you can click this and see what kind of machine you have got. You have got the CPU that has about maximum it can like spike up to 16 GB RAM, and currently we are not using any CPU percentage. We have got 73 GB storage, and current disk is like 20.7. What am I saying? Sorry, 2.7, and the session time we just started. You don't need GPU, but if you need GPU, you can go to Accelerator and check. I've got a couple of tutorials where I've used GPU, but again, like if you're just starting fresh for Python, you don't have to do any of these things. So what do we have to do? Oh, first of all, let's run this and then congratulate ourselves. There are two ways to run this, I would say, probably multiple ways. The first way I would probably run this is click this button, but again, it's always, if you're planning to become a better coder, it is always better for you to try to use keyboard as much as. I'm not saying that will make you a better coder, but that will help you in avoiding context switching. Like you don't have to figure out where is your mouse. So what I would do is I can either click this and then run this, or I can go here and then say Control Enter, and then that would end. I think Shift Enter would also work. Yeah, Shift Enter also works. Shift Enter, Control Enter, or if you're on Mac, okay, Command Enter doesn't work, so that's a bad assumption. Shift Enter and Control Enter works. So what we have printed, you have successfully run some Python code. Congratulations. Okay, like I said, I always encourage you to mess up things. So now let's try one more thing here. What we learned, let's try to put an emoticon, maybe this, and then try to run. Does it work? Yes, it works. Okay, will it work if I print it 10 times? Oh yes, it works, but it doesn't show it in a new line. So what do I have to do? Okay, so the easiest way to know how to do that is I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to say how to print something in Python in new line. Okay, so I'm going to ask a very basic question, and then see my luck if I get an answer. Okay, there are a couple of YouTube videos I don't want to see. Oh, I've got a Stack Overflow answer, and the simple answer is I'm going to use this. Okay, that's what the answer is. I'm going to use this character and I'll add it at the end, and then I'm going to run it, and then you can see very successfully we have printed congratulations the celebratory emoticon 10 times, and it works. So the reason I'm doing this is, again, I don't want you just simply run whatever they've given you to run. It is always good for you to mess up things, and that is how you can learn. So people like me who post YouTube video, you can come back to me and say, hey, you told me to do this thing, but this has gone wrong. So I might probably know the answer, or I might try to direct you to the place where you can find an answer for this thing. So that is my little pep talk or TED talk, whatever it is. So there are a couple of shortcuts again you can use. When you press A, there is a cell that is added above it. When you press B, cell below it. I wouldn't bother much knowing these things at the start. I mean, like, it's quite simple, right? You can just click here, code, that's fine. So I wouldn't bother much. Maybe one thing that I would want to learn is, there are two things, code and markdown. Markdown is where you write the narration, like text like this. Code is where you write the actual code. So anything that you write in code will get executed when we do save version. Anything that you do markdown, it's like a text, so nothing happens. It's like your GitHub readme, so nothing happens. It's markdown. So, and yeah, markdown, of course, right? You can add images, hyperlinks, all these things. So I can say subscribe to One Little Coder. Thank you so much. All these things I can do that. Okay, after that, let's see what is the next exercise. Next hands-on exercises. Start by setting up our feedback and code mechanism. Just run this. Okay, it's just set up. So let's go to the 0th question, and you might ask, why 0th question? Maybe I'll start with that. Why do you want to start with 0th question? What is 0? It means we have been always told 0 doesn't exist, but what is 0? Like, if you're not familiar with Python before, Python is a 0 index language. So the first item in Python is 0. Yeah, 0th item, 0th index. So it's not an one index language, it's a 0th index language. So that's what they are subtly saying, question 0. So you might get all this subtle jabs. So what is your favorite color? So to complete this question, create a variable called color in the cell with an appropriate value. The function call qo.check. So again, a checkpoint, a spoiler alert. If you do not want to copy what I'm doing, please stop the video right here. Go do it yourself. You don't have to watch the complete video if you want to do it yourself. That is what I would also encourage. But if you are stuck somewhere, that's what this video is supposed to help you. So complete the question. Create a variable called color in the cell with an appropriate value. The function call io.check, which we have already provided in the cell below, will check your answer. Okay, let's try this. Remember, you open it in single quote, you have to close it in single quote. You open it in double quote, you have to open it in double quote. So first, let's make a mistake. So instead of calling something as color, let's call color, like with U. And I'm going to assign something saying, what is a color that I like? Maybe blue. I'm going to run it. And it's, it verified my code is correct. Oh, that's okay. So which means they have handled this test case as well. But they're saying, then you must create a variable called color. So they've specifically said color. Okay, let me run color. Oh, that's correct. It says we have got it right. So let's try to make another mistake. What happens when I open with double bracket and double quote and close it with single quote? Oh no, EOL stands for end of line while scanning string literal. So it's simply saying that, boss, you have made some mistake. So what is the mistake? So I've opened it with single quote, and like an idiot, I've closed it with a double quote, something like that. So I'll just fix it and then right answer. We got the right answer. If you want hint and solution, you can always check. So what is the next exercise? The next exercise is we have pi and diameter. So create a variable called radius. Okay, first let's start with create a variable called radius equal to half the diameter. So diameter, how do you do half? Like there are multiple ways. You can either divide it or you can multiply it by this. Okay, so both are same basically. So create a variable called area equals, using the formula for area, oh, I don't remember it, pi times radius square. How do I do square? I have to put cap and 2. Does it work? I think double star would work. Let me check. Okay, it didn't work. Unsupported operand type. Okay, so I have to do double star. Let's try. Okay, correct answer. So this is the way for me to say power exponential, and then I can do it. There are multiple ways for you to do it, but this is the way I've done. And our third problem, or I should say like second problem, I don't know what is it. Add code to the following cell to swap A and B so that A refers to the object previously referred to by B and vice versa. Okay, so this is slightly tricky. Setup code, don't touch this code. Your code goes here. So I have a list. This is a Python list. So anytime you want to store more than one value in an object or variable, you have to use some slightly complicated data structure. In this case we are using list. So list is like an array. Again, if you do not know array, you just store more values of the same type in one object. Like this, in this case it's a number 1, 2, 3, b is equal to 3, 2, 1. So your code goes here. Swap the values which refer to A and B. So if you get stuck, you can always uncomment and both. So what they ultimately want is, they want B's value to go into A's value to go into B. Can you just do like this? You cannot. You know why you cannot? Now you have taken B's value and then assign it to A. So let's run it and see. No, it's incorrect. Both of them have the same value. So what do I do? So this is a good place for you to introduce a temporary variable. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say, hey A, let me put your value into a temporary variable. Okay, and then I'm going to put B's value into A, and then I'm going to say temporary variable, you go inside B. So first this goes into temp, and then this goes into A, and then this goes into B, which ideally should finally show me that A and B have got swapped. If I want, I can still print A, print A and print B. Okay, let's run it. Oh, absolutely correct. What? Because our A has 3, 2, 1 and B has 1, 2, 3. So the most straightforward solution is to use a temporary variable, and this was, and you would probably use a lot. But another nice trick that you may not know is something like this. This is quite simple, more Pythonic. So you would see this word Pythonic a lot, and this is using tuple, tuple, whatever you would like to call tuple. So you just swap the variables like this. It's quite simple, right? Unlike other programming languages like what I did, you can simply use tuple and then swap the variables. That's quite intuitive. Okay, so add a parenthesis to the following so that it evaluates to 1. So how do you evaluate it to 1? So you add a parenthesis here. So 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. 2, when you divide it by 2, you get remainder 1. Oh, sorry, quotient 1. Okay, so the next one is 3b. Oh, this is chili. Oh, it's a spicy pepper. Oh, because it's harder. So what you have to do, you have to say add parenthesis to the following so that it evaluates to 0. So how do you make it evaluated to 0? So that's quite tricky. Okay, I can do this because 3 into 2 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. Oops, doesn't it? Okay, did I just try to be smarter? 8 minus 3, okay, what is it? It has to evaluate to 0. So 3 into minus 3, okay, what are they asking me to add parenthesis to the following expression so that it evaluates to 0? So minus 1 plus 1 is 0. So can I make this part 0? No, I cannot make this part 0 at all. So 8 minus 3, or I should say 8 minus 6 is 2. Okay, that's good. So now 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1. So it doesn't happen quite like that. So if I say 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. And okay, so I think I'm running out of options. So let me write the solution and say, oh, this has a lot of brackets. So what are they doing? So they are doing 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So they're saying 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. That's amazing, right? That's quite interesting. So you multiply whatever number you don't care about it, then you take care of this area so that you have 0 as the answer. So this evaluates to 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Anytime you multiply anything with 0 is 0. And solution number question number 4. So we have variables representing Candice, Alice, Bob, Carol, and your code goes here, replacing the right hand side of this assignment with an expression involving Candice to smash. What am I saying? So for the sake of their friendship, any candies left over will be smashed. For example, if they collectively bring home 91 candies, they'll take each 30 and then smash the one. So to smash, we have to decide. So how do we decide? Write an arithmetic expression below to calculate how many candies they must smash given for a given haul. So again, this is a question I might struggle a bit, but let's try. So I'm going to say Alice candies plus Bob candies plus Carol candies divided by 3. Okay, what is our arithmetic operator for we have ampersand for reminder. So sorry, did I say ampersand? Modular operator. Okay, and then I'm going to say 3. Does it work? Of course it works, because we take this thing divided by 3 and then the remainder is going to get smashed. So good. So we have successfully learned the basics of Python. We have learned assignment operator. We have learned a little bit of arithmetics, order of operation or precedence, and then we have successfully completed the exercise 1. So once you do this thing, save version. Like I said yesterday, you can either save and run all, save. In this case, I'll just save and run all, so it doesn't make a lot of difference. So you can see that we have taken 14 minutes to complete this, and then this is just running. Once it runs, finish running, you would actually see a different URL where you can see this notebook. So I'm going to probably show you that. So do I want to leave the site? Okay, let me just copy it, go here, paste it, and you can right now you know that it is getting it's getting run, but once this is finished, you would actually see, yeah, it's done. So you can see that this is the first. So we have successfully created, and you can make it public or private. So currently it is private notebook, but if you want to make it public, you can make it public as well. So what I would do is I would make it public so that people who want a solution can find here. Or should I make it public? Okay, I'll not make it public. So why do I have to make it public? You yourself can try it. So what I will do is I'll link this tutorial and I will link this notebook in the YouTube description, so you can check it out. So we have successfully read the tutorial, completed the assignment. So I hope that you are confident about your Python variables, arithmetics, and so on. So if you have any more questions, please let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, see you tomorrow.